Conversations bring out the best in us. Since the beginning of time, humans have always conversed. Through these conversations, we have advanced our worlds. Hi, my name is Martha Okia, and you're watching Mind Medium. If it's your first time being here, you're very much welcome to the show. This is the podcast where we celebrate great minds like yours. And we remain inspired by curiosity and adventure. For you, the old viewer, thank you so much for joining the gist once again. Today's episode is themed around transformation, and is a very special episode for me because I have my very first guest on the show. He's an award-winning filmmaker, an alumni of New York Films Academy. He's a creative junkie and a spiritual traveler who sees himself as the alchemist and also sees creativity from a cosmic point of view. He believes that your journey in life should be through the inner world, then onto the outer world. He's a very vast filmmaker, a production designer, a writer. His works have been published in College Times, Rolling Stone, Gulf News, Times of India. He has worked with Bollywood, Nollywood. He's been featured in films like Fast and Furious. He's been featured on Deadpool and many more other platforms. It is with great pleasure and so much excitement that I ask you to join me as I welcome Uzi.
Hello. Thank
Hi,
you for
Uzi.
having me.
Thank you for coming.
No,
I'm
absolutely.
so excited to have you here.
Thank you
How are
very
you
much.
feeling?
I'm feeling great. I had no idea I was the first official guest. I just found
You
out.
are my first.
And I'm like, you know what? I love that. That's
You're
awesome.
my very
Thank
first
you.
guest. That's
I'll
why
take that.
it's so
Top
special.
of the list. Let's go.
That's why it's so special, and I will never
Thank you.
forget.
Me too. Absolutely. From all the podcasts I've done, I've never been the first guest. So
You are my first guest.
I'll take that one. Thank you.
Officially. So, how was it? How was your journey down to the studio?
No, it was great. With a bit of traffic as usual. Welcome to
That's
Dubai.
fine. Welcome to Dubai.
Right? That's just how it goes. But no, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me into the show. And yeah, let's get
so
cracking in.
happy.
I'm
So
looking
happy.
forward to this. It'll be fun.
How are you seeing the weather? Is it better now? Is
Oh.
it bearable now?
Just listen. I come from the west coast of Canada, Vancouver, and they've got the best weather out there. So
Oh.
I don't think anything can compare to that. But yeah, let's just say I never get used to the heat in the desert heat. It's just the humidity is too much.
And that's great.
It's too much.
You know, we're talking about the traffic. Some days back, I saw on Instagram where someone was saying, comparing Dubai of before and Dubai of now. You know, so the person filmed the road, like she was driving, and then she filmed, like, I don't know, she put together a before
Okay.
and now of the road. The before, the roads were really scanty, but the now, there's a whole lot of people crossing the road at the same time.
Yeah.
While cars are trying to also pass the traffic light. So, in essence, trying to say that we are now a lot in Dubai. A lot of people are now in Dubai. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this is like becomes the pinnacle of Middle East and Asia, right? So you're getting
Yeah.
both the blends of cultures going in and out. It's just gonna get worse, I think.
Worse.
I mean, look at it. Like
Worse in a good
everybody
way?
wants to come to Dubai, right? So everyone's coming in.
Isn't that amazing? That's what the government wanted, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think very soon we'll have like super highways and things like flying taxis. and stuff
Yeah,
coming
which
in.
they're already
Like,
testing. I don't know if they are
everything.
official yet.
I think they said 2025. they're supposed to come
2025.
around.
It's just
Yeah,
next
so-
year. 3 months or 2 months
We're not
until
far away.
then. Guys, we'll be the first
Right? Yeah, probably.
to
100%.
use flying cars.
flying cars as taxis. Are you kidding?
There's someone I saw on YouTube who was talking about dimensions, where he said, we're already using flying cars. I don't know, that's how he explained it. I think his name is Neil Neil
deGrasse.
Brisson or something.
Neil deGrasse.
Yeah. He
The
was saying
physicist.
something like that.
Yeah,
The
the physicist.
physicist. He was
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that we're already using flying cars, so the actual today's
Yeah.
flying car is not like the first one. But anyway,
Yeah, I know it's happened before.
Yeah,
in
that's
some
what,
way. Yeah.
that's what he was trying to say.
I think our past was way more advanced than our current present time. I truly
Do you
believe
think
that.
so?
I believe that. More than think. I totally believe that.
I feel that we've always been advanced for every civilization,
Yeah.
but I feel that the longer we stay, the more intelligent we become, even good and bad,
Yeah.
because the more intelligent in the bad, the more intelligent in the good. But there's something about innovation that I love, that is the old plus new.
Yeah.
So so that's why I feel we are still like, I don't know, I don't want to compare,
You
but
feel like we're going into an advanced time.
yeah, I feel so.
I feel the opposite, to be honest.
You feel the
I feel the opposite, to be honest. I feel like we were way more advanced, and I think we're way more backward now than we ever were.
What?
I mean, think of it. People could remember phone numbers and a route to get from house
Yeah.
A to point B. Now they're like, my Google Maps crashed, so I couldn't get from point A to B. Oh, God gave you a brain,
No,
right? To navigate.
But
And we stopped navigating.
But
We started looking down, and I think we've just become, I'd like to use the word a bit handicapped in that sense, wherein we can't live without the technology.
really?
And as much as I love the tech, by the way, don't get me wrong, I grew up
Yeah.
around the tech and I've been part of the tech for a very long time. There's a certain side where we've forgotten the basics, that our human body was actually tech, right?
Yeah, that
This-
we're actually
we are actually
a
tech,
software,
right? Yeah, we're
programming,
exactly.
a computer.
Absolutely. And so I think along the way we lost the connection of we were the original tech, just taken for granted.
I don't know how we grew into that, but I feel that for in terms of all the technology that we have of today, like the Google Map, I just feel that they're all tools for us to
100%.
get things done faster.
If we use them as tools.
If we use them as tools.
Yep.
But coming from our own point of view, where we understand that these are tools like pen and paper,
Yeah.
to get something done quickly,
Yep.
I just see them as that, because since we're multi-dimensional, we are a lot of things and we need to do a lot of things. So
Yep.
when tools come, it just helps you to
Do it
get
better.
get it done faster, save time.
Yeah,
So you have
agreed.
time for other things. You
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But I love what you said. You said we're multidimensional beings.
Yeah.
And I think science as well can prove nowadays that the fact of the amount of tech that we have around us actually suppresses the fact that we're multidimensional beings.
Suppress.
It
Well,
absolutely does.
that's a good point of view also, but
It's frequency, right? Okay, I'll tell you a simple, there was an experiment done wherein they actually measured the amount of voltage you have in your body
Yeah.
while you're walking around.
Yeah.
And it was like it was less than 1, it was like 0.7, 0.8. Then you take out your shoes, take out your socks, go onto the beach or onto grass, stand barefoot, and then do the same measurement. And it's going to cross 10 at some point, and then that just goes to show you we are energy.
we are
conductors
energy,
of that.
we are electrical.
And so 80% of what is around you, and I mean this in the most honest sense,
yeah.
80% of whatever is built around you in today's time actually is stopping you from using what you were meant to do and actually serve in the first place. So look at how social media was founded.
Yeah.
It was based off the gambling algorithm.
Oh, really? What
Yep.
what did you say? What
Gambling.
gambling?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
really?
you go to the slot machine, you pull something down, it goes next, dopamine hit, it goes
Whoa.
next. And the people that actually worked in these software companies have come out and openly spoken about this. And so every time it's called doom scrolling, right? Where you're just sitting on your feed and
Yeah.
you're going, and that's literally like the slot machine, right? You keep going and you win something, and you keep going, you win something. And those were things meant to actually be put in place so that you don't have the free mind and time to just sit
Yeah.
and absorb life.
And but today, this is why it's so important for self-discovery, self-development, because when you delve into information like that, you're able to make use of these tools, these platforms for
Yeah.
good use.
Yep.
Today, an Instagram or YouTube serves you as a filmmaker a platform for you to
100%.
put out your content
100%.
free, for free. You know, YouTube has a notion that says broadcast it yourself. So in the olden days, because YouTube is like our new TV now,
100%,
yeah, we watch
100%.
we can watch YouTube on TV.
Change lives.
Oh, you can even watch my podcast on what's it called, VR.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can watch YouTube on your VR
Yeah. Headset.
Quest. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, the headset. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, before you couldn't do this. You
Yeah.
probably had to have some connections. You
100%.
probably had to have some amount of money to go and, you know, publish. But now there's YouTube that says broadcast it yourself. You can broadcast from your home. You can
Yeah.
broadcast from your car. You can self-publishing. It's
Yeah.
it's just
They
so,
made it more accessible for creators.
you know, yeah.
100%.
Even if like a lot of people can waste their life through these platforms,
Yeah.
there's the positive side of it.
100%.
And there are a lot of things you really need to know so you can make
Make
good
the best.
use,
100%.
you know.
How many musicians
of
got
it.
found on YouTube, right?
TikTok is
TikTok.
making people just blow off.
Blow up. Yeah. But then what do the people do when they blow off? What are they using the platform for? Just like you said, right?
Yeah,
So it's
so
like-
it still has to do with self-development, because
100%.
there's a stage
100%.
where they haven't gotten to, and then it
100%.
turns into some chaos.
Yeah, chaos. I like that. Chaos. Every artist will appreciate chaos.
you know what I mean. Speaking about how much Dubai has grown, I saw that I know that you started off from Deira. Could you let us know how your journey was? How were you born here? How did you move down here? How was life in Deira?
For sure. So I grew up in there since I was about 2.
Wow.
Yeah, so my parents moved from India, born in India.
Mhm. Wow.
And yeah, so been here since 94, 93.
You're a local.
So yeah, been here a long time. And then left when I was 17, so I schooled here. I went to high school here.
That's amazing.
So yes, you know, growing up in Dera at that point was it was very different. There was 3 kind of main sides of Dubai. You have Dera, you have North Dubai, and Karama on the side growing up.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the main part of Dubai. And then, you know, the Crescents and all of that was like still kind of coming up. And so Dera was it was definitely a vibe. It's a side that people don't realize what it was. It was at some point it was, you know, probably what, you know, Compton went through at certain points of time.
Yeah.
When, you know, you just find anyone and everyone around, but you wouldn't know. Like you'd be playing football with, you know, kids straight out of like Afghanistan, and like, and so you'd have so many different nationalities just kind of getting out there on the road and like doing stuff because we didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Right, so it was either playing outdoor sports or, you know, stuff like that. But the school I went to, I had a whole bunch of different friends on the other side.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave me best of both worlds in a sense. By the time I was about, I think, 10, I was VR game testing in Dubai. So I'm talking like 2001, 2.
Was that the first time you got introduced into the creative?
No, actually, I was way before introduced. So my dad was an interior designer.
Whoa.
And my mom worked in events. So I kind of got
Oh, that's amazing.
both sides, right? So I kind of grew up in a workshop at one side, and then
Wow.
got to see events on the other side. But like I said, I was always drawn to the tech. To me, it was very easy to
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
how tech functioned. So VR game testing came along, and so I was full haptic suit 21 years ago. You know, what people like talking about now, but at that time it's full suits, but it was all written up in DOS. So it was like early stages, right? With lots of quirks and how it worked. It wasn't so realistic.
Yeah.
That kind of took off, and then I got into music at that point.
Music.
Yeah.
Like you sang, or you were a
No,
producer?
I used to DJ.
You used to DJ.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I started producing music for websites for this
Wow.
company that I used to intern for in the summers, and then got into DJing, and then got into live sound
In Dubai.
in Dubai. Yeah. So I was DJing and making music and stuff like that till I was about 15 or 16, doing live sound till then.
Wow.
And then at 17, I left to the UK to study production design. Yeah, and that's when I joined the business. So started working in the business professionally when I was 17. Walking around as a PA,
Yeah.
paying to go to work.
Yeah.
You know, no one pays you as a PA back in the time. It's like, hey, you know what? I'll show up and work for 18 hours, and you don't have to pay me a dime. Just let me
Just-
go in. You know?
Just for the experience.
Yeah, let me just stand there and learn.
Because of how passionate you
Yeah, and then it starts with how good a tea or coffee can be. Yeah, and that's usually where it starts. And people take that for granted because if you can make someone a good cup of coffee and tea, you never know what conversation like it will strike up, and you'll just kind of learn a thing or two. And best way to network on a set, make someone a good cup of tea or coffee.
Did you get?
It's true. It really is. It's because you get to speak to people without them being in the zone, right? And it's just kind of nice because you can have conversation.
Yeah,
That's
because
someone new in the business.
yeah,
Hey, you know what? I can just talk to this person without them being out in the zone, and I need to get something that's like, hey, I'm taking a tea break or a coffee break.
yeah.
I can ask you a question and you won't mind.
Yeah, because I think I've heard someone say no matter what, always stop by at that little gathering, maybe having lunch with someone, or like at the tea, at the coffee machine.
Yeah.
Always stop
That's where you
by.
make your
'Cause that's where you make your friends, and that's where you hear some
Some
some internal conversations. Even at the office. So I was like, cool. Anyway, that's.
That was my time in Dubai. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting. Got to do a lot of creative stuff around.
Yeah.
As much as it was, and then that's in the UK. Yeah.
But why filmmaking? What made you get into filmmaking? Why
True
did you
story.
choose?
True story. It chose me. My mom was pregnant with me on a set before I was born.
Whoa.
True story. Right? So it's kind of like when I went through my journey as an artist of going from like traditional art and painting and doing all that
Yeah.
to then music to then photography. Film was that point where, to me, it was the highest point of collaboration. A whole bunch of artists could get together to make one piece of art, and sometimes your contribution maybe just be like a paintbrush stroke,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's, hey, I wrote the story, and sometimes it's, oh, I actually produced it. But everyone contributed to that one bit of art, and I don't think there's any other medium that has the power in under 2 hours to change someone's emotional state, mental state, physical state. That you can go into a film and come out moved, crying, happy, laughing, memories, triggered memories, make you remember your life, and you can go back and do something about it. And films have that power to kind of bring in change. And for me, that was what I wanted to do. It was, hey, how do you go and influence change through art? So, yeah.
That's amazing, because I actually feel the same way about filmmaking industry. It has the power to disrupt. It has that power to change the world through stories, and there's always a story that is relatable to someone else.
Yeah.
And you never know the things you can just activate in someone else watching it, the viewer, the audience, so, and I feel that some people do not understand yet how to create feelings in film. Like maybe the upcoming woods, there are a lot of woods. There's Bollywood, there's Hollywood, Nigeria is Nollywood. Yeah, so maybe someday you get to work in Hollywood because you've been part of a what's it called, the
Multi-choice.
multi-choice. You
Yeah,
part of
multi-choice.
multi-choice.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very soon maybe you get to do something.
I would
in
love to.
Nollywood
I think
because
there's so
actually
much talent there. There's so much talent there. Like,
Yeah.
we did a masterclass with Film Academy
Yeah.
and Multi-Choice Talent Factory. And the amount of talent that was out there is so awesome.
Oh.
It's so awesome.
Have you heard of Nollywood before?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Actually, I had a few friends in university from Nigeria. So I was very
Amazing.
familiar with some Nigerian music and
Afrobeats.
Afrobeats. Oh, yeah, of course. Red Sun used to be playing all the time around. But yeah, no, it was also the fact of people don't realize that Indian cinema have many other industries than just Bollywood.
I was surprised when I heard you say that on the last pod you were on.
Yeah.
When you said Indian Bollywood has Indian cinema has different. I was like,
Oh yeah.
really?
Oh, way.
But do you
beyond.
think that's a good thing?
Oh, of course. It's because it gives regional talent power. It's so every story matters. You don't have to go into the middle of Bollywood to tell your story.
But
You can
doesn't
still get to your audience in that village, in that city, in that area, and still have the power of getting your voice out.
But doesn't that create like a division? You know, like if the cinema, I don't know how to put this, but if the cinema is known to be Bollywood, is known as a Bollywood, like a family, like a tree with different branches under it. That's the name people know it for. Why then other films don't just come under the tree Bollywood? Why is that like
So
the
Bollywood
segregation?
actually, the hub of Bollywood was from Bombay and Mumbai.
It's
Mumbai
India,
now,
right?
you're right. But Bollywood got the name because of Bombay, which is one part of India, right? Which is in one city. However, the part of the multicultural of India is so deep, is you can cross a state line and have a completely different culture, food, language, where
Yeah.
people won't even understand each other, just one state to the
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
completely different people. And so now they can't having to be forced to come just to make a story or to this side and kind of come under that. And to me personally, that would be unfair to tell an artist that you have to come under this umbrella, rather than you can go create your own umbrella as long as it's doing something,
Yeah.
right? It's a movement,
Yeah.
right? We've had many movements in through Europe, and those movements were triggered by different countries, from French Renaissance to like Italian neorealism, and then you got like German expressionism.
Yeah.
You had all these, and they had their own bits. India's continuously going through them.
I heard one of the veterans from Nollywood, the Nigerian film industry. He was of the idea that people should stop segregating themselves from the Nollywood umbrella, because it's like a what's it called? An indigenous film. An indigenous film is the one where they speak their tribal language. Yeah. So he's like, when they produce these films and they go for marketing or to push the film or look for sponsorship, they should always come under the umbrella of Nollywood. That there's no segregation in it, that they're causing some kind of, So I was like, okay. Now, but listening from your own perspective, I kind of understand why you feel all films shouldn't have to come under the umbrella that is known.
Yeah.
Saying like Hollywood, and we're sure a lot of films haven't come under Hollywood, but they've had platforms to showcase their films.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't come under the umbrella of.
Because let's break it down. What is Hollywood today? There's a production that may start out of LA, but they're shooting all over the world.
Yeah.
The crew's completely international. The story's based somewhere else, right? But now it's a Hollywood film. Like Hollywood's a place, right? It's a place right there. And why should, what's the British industry called? Like, what would a James Bond film
The British
called?
industry doesn't have a name, right?
There you go.
It doesn't have a name. I've not heard
It's British film.
It's just British film.
Yeah, it's British film because you can make many kinds of British film,
Yeah.
right? And yes, you can get someone saying, "Oh, like a James Bond is a Hollywood film." Yes, because of the production company of MGM and where it came from. But it's a British story that's set place by on British soil, mainly talking about MI6, and it's a completely British story. So that's why I don't personally appreciate always the umbrellas, because then I think it can get lost. I think the art can get lost under reference.
Yeah.
Because if I say to you Bollywood, you have an impression of what Bollywood is. But there's a South Indian film that's made it all the way up to the Oscars that was not Bollywood. I think it was called RR. And it was a sensational film, not Bollywood, South Indian. It was a completely different industry.
The Indian filmmaking industry is doing so well. Their stories are becoming so good. The cinematography is amazing. They've grown so big. Because I see a lot of their movies on Netflix, on Amazon.
Yep.
They have some cool stories. It's really cool. Like I'm impressed. I think recently I saw one on Netflix which is called, I think, Area 37 or so. See, I may not be sure of the number, but it's Sector 37, something like that. The story was so good that I finished the film. Like,
Nice.
the lighting, the sounds.
Yeah.
I respect.
Yeah, they're great films.
They're doing
And they've been
well
making film for a very
for a
long,
very long time.
very long time.
Because people used to feel, okay, when you hear about Indian film, is all like celebration, dancing, music.
Yeah.
But now they have a lot of movies that are not about that.
Because now people are realizing that it's bigger than just Bollywood. See, the celebration, the dancing, all of that was
Which we enjoy.
It's like
Which
a
we
musical.
love also, yeah.
It's a musical, right?
Yeah.
It's like what Chicago or one of those films did. They were musicals. Bollywood's kind of like that. But then you got these other industries where now, like you said, you're like, hey, I watched this and it's really great. I didn't know Indian cinema make this. Well, that's because they are doing it for their people. They're not trying to fit an umbrella.
Yeah.
They are making their film and they're like, you know what? We'll just show it to our people.
Yeah.
And it's enough. And then the other people who like it will watch it. Look at Korean cinema.
Well, that's another
Right?
big one.
Same thing.
That's another
Like now everyone in the world is talking about Korean cinema because of what we had with Squid Games and Parasite. But they've been making amazing films for a long time.
Nigeria consumes a whole lot of Indian films
Oh yeah?
and Korean films.
Right? Yeah.
As I'm speaking, I'm sure my mom is probably watching a film in
Korean?
India.
Oh,
India.
Indian film. Okay.
The
Nice.
the older ones still maybe now the Gen Z in Nigeria, they're probably watching more of Korean films now.
Yep.
But the parents are
Yeah.
still stuck to Indian films a whole lot because it comes on the show like 5 p.m., 4 p.m., in fact from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. Different series.
Wow.
They have channels dedicated to just Indian films.
Wow.
On the decoder I was telling you about,
Yeah.
DSTV under multi-choice, they have channels for it.
Wow.
So we consume a whole lot of Indian film. Like Indian
That's
film,
beautiful.
yeah.
That's translation of culture right there.
That
Right?
Nigerians know
No.
a lot about Indians through their films, and that's the thing about films. One of the easiest way for people to know about you is through films. It's through the stories that you tell.
100%.
So for countries which we see as underdeveloped,
Yeah.
third world countries, my country is in the list, Nigeria. If you're waiting for the mainstream media to tell your story, to show what is truly in your country, they probably will never do that.
Yeah.
They will only show the parts that will make nobody come to your country. But through your movies, you can tell the stories that would attract someone else.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not people know Nigerian movies just for maybe witchcraft, stuff like that.
That's the Hollywood version of how it's been put out, right? Yeah.
But it is true those things are existing, but it is like the tiniest
Tiniest
bit
bit, of
of
course.
it, So you can actually we have a lot of real true events, raw stories
100%.
that are different, that are unique, that we can actually tell instead of just being focused on copying.
100%.
Because that's one of the things that we want to do. Copy America, copy the British,
100%.
we
The
have
colonial mindset.
we have to create our own stories.
You know where that begins though?
Where does it begin?
With the history.
Yeah.
It's because some people don't know their real history and they don't go looking for
They
it.
don't go looking for
You
it.
will never break those stereotypes because
It's
you think
right.
that's the right way to do it.
It's right there,
It's
hidden
right
in
there.
plain sight.
Yep.
Now we're in the age of information, in the digital age. You can find anything you want to find as long as you're patient. Before you
And then you want to find it.
if you want to find
You know, when we did this multi-choice talent factory thing,
Yeah.
one of the first things that I asked a group of students was, do you know who the richest man to ever walk on the face of the planet was? Do you?
I don't
His name is Mensa Musa.
Oh, I've heard that name.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was the richest.
he was the richest man to ever walk planet Earth. And we don't learn about him. No one teaches us about
Where is he from?
Mali. He was a prince from Mali.
Oh, interesting.
And Mensa Musa went from Mali through Africa and donated most of his wealth through Egypt and all along the way. And he was out of the pilgrimage. And that's when they got their big chunk of money flow through Egypt at that point. But we're never taught about that. We're never told about that. And it's like, if those people knew that their history
Yeah.
was so deeply rich that it had to be kept hidden because it was that powerful, I think they would come out with most stories where, you would get the real Wakandas coming
Yeah.
up. Not the Marvel version of it, but the real version of it, because I truly believe they existed.
Yeah. How has your culture and tradition impacted your creative journey? Like for me, growing up, we had like this. I was surrounded by the tradition, like where I had an uncle who tells us stories, in a round circle with fire in the middle, where we throw orange peels on the fire so it creates that nice smell, at night under the moon.
Yeah.
It tells us all these folktale stories and our imagination will be running wild.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
And then when you go to sleep, you're thinking of those stories and you're almost like scared.
Yeah.
They were real, they were amazing, because most of the ancient tradition lived on oral storytelling.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how they pass it on to the other. So somebody in the clan sometimes is destined to be like the griot
Yeah.
of the family. So I grew up in that kind of circle in my early years, from the age of 2 to 10.
Okay.
So that was my experience, and looking back, I feel that they were amongst the things that inspired me, to when I look back. But I didn't know then before.
Right.
I was surrounded with traditional dance, traditional music.
Right.
I was into traditional group,
Yeah.
female group and all that, So it was cool. For you, how was it like? Did you have those kind of cultural experiences growing up? Or when you visit India, or when they come, do you have anything?
Culture-wise, it was very different because I grew up in Dubai,
Yeah.
and so I grew up in this mixed culture kind of environment
Yeah.
where I didn't get that version of it because I grew up on this side of the world. So I had a lot of culture from here, but also we didn't have family around.
Yeah.
So just my mom and dad. For me, culture was, I grew up in a dojo, and a lot of people don't know that, but I trained karate my entire life. And so I was in a dojo since I was about 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's been 30 years, and I still train karate. And that was for me the first side of culture. Because no matter what happened, I was in a dojo training.
Yeah.
And our training was, and still is, very traditional. We trained like, they train in Okinawa.
So part of my culture of growing up was in that dojo, which meant we would go to Okinawa, bring
Yeah.
back the actual culture, implement it in the dojo, and everything dealing from respect, hierarchy, self-belief,
Yeah.
digging in, understanding who you are as a person. That side of the Japanese culture came in. On the other side, we're Muslim in our family, and so growing up in an Islamic kind of environment, it's very, very deeply connected with the Japanese martial arts culture.
Yeah.
They're like interlinked right in. And so for me, that was the culture that I grew up in. Um, but I was always curious because all my friends had different cultures. And that's the kind of cool part about growing up in Dubai. You have someone from different faith countries,
Yeah.
whatever they want to believe in, but they're all kind of there. So I got to learn a lot of different cultures. Uh, but what was closest to me was always in that dojo. It was, I can go into that dojo, and then once that door shuts, it just, whatever is in that dojo matters. And I think as I grew up, my curiosity kind of grew more and more to understand other cultures, but from a very deeply religious perspective. So I actually, for the last 10 years, have been researching and writing a book called Are We Living in God's Head?
Are we living in God's head?
It's a question. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I went back
That's an
breaking down.
amazing topic.
Yeah, thanks. So that's kind of where culture came in for me, and why filmmaking was so important. Is as a filmmaker, the deepest part of culture is to understand the beauty of putting something out that can be flawed, right? And so you go back and do your first cut, your second cut, your third cut, and then it takes sometimes 200, 300 people to put together one piece of art that's 2 hours long, that's taken months, sometimes years to put together, and that's been cut into a little 2-hour piece, and then you press play and then you watch it.
It's so
and it can be flawed.
inspiring. It's so
And
inspiring.
can you imagine if life was cut like that and it's still unflawed? And I think to me that was the beauty of culture, is to understand how all of that came from one source.
And how we've advanced and how we've changed our thinking. You know, we keep. It's amazing.
It changed our thinking, and I also believe it's a full circle.
Yeah.
It's as much as we change our thinking, we're coming back to where we originally were, is
Yeah.
to understand exactly who we were in the first place. It's like there's no point doing everything else, because even science at some point is doing what? It's actually in a quest to prove the existence
Yeah.
that beyond science there is God.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of this kind of journey. It's like, why do we spend billions of dollars trying to photograph billions of years away? Like, places that we can't even get to. It's just to answer that inner curiosity, like, oh yeah, we actually knew that, right? We knew it existed. So somewhere deep inside me, I always believe that I'm reliving what I've already lived. I know for a fact that my soul existed in another time. Like, I knew that. I knew that since I was a kid. So for me, it was very easy to just shut off.
How do you handle people of your religion who thinks otherwise? How when you say how you feel about topics like this, for the very religious people, even
think we're-
it could be Christianity,
Yeah.
Hindi, Islam.
I think anyone is on their own personal journey. And I actually have part of my book, visual, audible, and written proof of how all scriptures came from the same source. They all interlinked. Every single one of them, in written, audible, and visual form, right?
For sure.
And once you understand that, it's like, we choose to operate on the frequency that we want to.
Yeah.
Part of how I explain that is, if you go and look in the mirror, you see yourself. If you go and put a hat and come back on, you still see yourself, but differently. The mirror didn't change.
Yeah.
The room didn't change. You did.
Yeah.
So whoever's on that journey chooses to see what they want to see until and unless they explore. And till you don't get to that point, you can't force it.
And the world doesn't wait for you to change. It changes either ways. It keeps advancing either ways. So if your mind is not right and in alignment It's the universe. You are stuck.
The desert is not the same the next morning.
It is not. So if you don't grow with it for the next day, the sand would
It's gone.
move,
100%.
So if you're saying, oh, I'm not going to use AI, it's this is that. Oh, but we're in the world where we use the tool. Or if you believe AI is going to take the jobs, I don't totally believe in that. That's an argument that doesn't even.
I think we're gonna get to a point wherein artificial general intelligence is going to exist,
It will exist.
and when it fully is in existence, there will be a certain amount of jobs lost.
For sure,
right?
for
It's just
sure.
like, let's go back to the factory days. You had people going into a factory, thousands of workers going to make something, and now you have machines on a line, but then you have people to operate those machines, and people
How
want to find
about
other jobs.
how about the agricultural age,
Yeah.
where you have to use the cutlass yourself, or
Yeah.
you first of all you start using your hands, your bare
Right.
hands, and then it got to where there was cutlass, and you started using the cutlass, it was faster, and then we got to a place where we have machines
Yep.
to do the farming.
Yep.
So if that farmer had said no, I prefer to use my bare hands and my feet to do the farming because I don't know, is what God wanted, or
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
orchestrated by God. So this machine is evil, is that, I'm not going to use it. The next person who decides to use the machine would have more produce
Yeah.
than you.
Yeah.
The jobs now, the farmer elevated or advanced into knowing how to operate the machine,
100%.
or advancing to focusing on getting the right seeds
Yeah.
for the soil.
100%.
So there would always be jobs. This world is
It's changing.
it's changing.
You can get a job in the
And-
metaverse in a subway that is artificial, that is up in a digital space that doesn't even exist. And it's kind of crazy that you can get jobs like that now. You can get jobs in games,
Yeah.
and people like, can you imagine 20 years ago someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to be a gamer." Someone's like, "Hey, you know what? Stop playing games. Go open your books, right? Go do some studying." Today, parents are like, "Hey, we'll sponsor you. You want a game? Like, you make more money than the entire family as a gamer."
There will always be jobs, but it would advance. There will always be roles for humanity. It's even if I have a robot to be a house help for me, to help me out with chores in the house, it doesn't mean the person who was a maid before, the human who was a maid before, would not have another job. She probably would have to advance to something else that is
You have to
needed
grow,
within the
100%.
home.
100%.
So the question is, are you ready to change? Because the world
Yep.
has to keep on changing.
Yep. 100%.
It has to keep on changing. So
I
if
think the
you-
biggest question is, when you're going through change, how much do you choose to forget? So the farmer that did it with his feet had a certain love for his crops, had a love for earth, had a love for his produce.
yeah,
Someone that is sitting behind a machine now may not have that connection to the nature that is being produced. And I'm not
Okay.
saying it's wrong to have the machine to do it,
Yeah.
but it's also very mindful to know why people do what they do.
yeah.
There's a reason of why they do what they do. And when you had Gaudi trying to build the La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, which is, I think, being built for like 140, 150 years, still in construction.
Who's
the-
Gaudi?
Gaudi, Antonio Gaudi, the architect and artist. So, he's a very famous artist and architect, and you've seen the work when you see the big cathedral, La Sagrada in Spain. It's
Yeah.
still under construction.
Wow.
His work, can you imagine? He started that as his major project in his life,
Wow.
died knowing that he won't see it fully finished. His idea was, I'm going to tell a visual story
Yeah.
through my building. So it's kind of impossible for people to even make that stuff now, even though we have the tech,
Yeah.
right? They still can't do that. Look at the pyramids. We've never been able to recreate that in that way, even though we have the tech. We're so advanced. We have all these machines.
Well, let's believe that we've created pyramids in other ways, like the towers that we see.
I hope you had an amazing time joining in on this conversation on finding destiny and evolving your mind with Uzi. Stay tuned in for part 2 of this conversation on Mind Medium.